circle with a cross on it. And that's why today, almost all churches you will drive by, seeing the cross on the outside of churches, you'll see the cross with a circle on the cross. The circle is the sun that dies on the cross of the zodiac. On the calendar, of the ancient calendar, you divide the winter and summer solstice from the autumn and spring equinox. There's a cross on the circle, and the circle is the sun dying on the cross. Okay? So we can dispense with that. Now, as we said, the sun was born on December 25th, and of course every year they said that the sun was born again. Of course, now for you to be born again, that means that you have to go underwater to be born again. Why? You're baptized in underwater to be born again. No, that comes from the fact that when you were born the first time, your mother broke water. You were submerged in water the first time. So if you're going to be born again, you got to go back under the water again. Nothing holy about it, just plain old life. The way philosophies came about is people just looked at the world around them, watched the way things worked, and had to get in line with it. They couldn't make the universe do what they want, so they got to get in line with it and form their religious philosophies or ideas with what was there.
So the baptism had to do with the mother's water.
That's right.
As opposed to the River Jordan.
That's right, exactly. Had nothing to do with the River Jordan. Okay. Now, light was always, as we said, associated with truth, and the lie was always the work of darkness. Okay. And therefore the sun was the light and the truth. And he brought the truth and the light. And as a matter of fact, it is said of the sun that he was the truth and the light. And that's why, incidentally, we have in our jury system today in America, we have 12 jurors who help bring the truth to light. See? So, also about winter time, it was interesting because in the winter was always associated with death. And that's because everything in the winter dies. So, winter was associated with death. And, of course, the sun dies in winter. And so they said, and this is a very important point, they said that the sun, when it was reborn on December 25th, which was God's son's birthday, it had passed over, because we use that term today, when you pass on or you passed away or you passed over, the sun had passed over from the death of winter to the coming new life of spring, so that in the spring he came back to life. And he brought life back to the earth. So he had passed over and passed on or passed away. And so in the ancient Egyptians had a celebration the first day of spring, and they called it the Passover. And they celebrated the Passover because the sun has done passed over from the death of winter to the new life of spring. That's where the Passover comes from. Anyway, the sun, of course, in spring, first day of spring, all of a sudden everything that was dead, it now comes alive again. So therefore, God's son is bringing life back to the earth. He is a symbol of everlasting life. And as I said, for the earth, but not for you. And at that particular month that he comes back into the spring, was in the most ancient calendars, was Virgo. Virgo the virgin. Therefore, it was said that God's son is born of a virgin. That's where that came from. God's son feeds his followers. Of course, we were told that God's son feeds his followers with two fishes. Two fishes, of course, anybody that knows anything about astrology at all knows the two fishes is a symbol of the age of Pisces. Now, in the old age of Pisces, of the two fishes, is a little over 2,000 years in length. Now, if you understand that those 12 apostles were the 12 months of the year, or the 12 days of 12 hours of light, and the 12 hours of darkness, I mean, the 12 was very important. If you understand that each one of those apostles or months was given to a particular astrological constellation, the Cancer and Sagittarius, etc., etc. Okay, so the old age of Pisces, or the fishes, when God's son feeds his people with two fishes, is a little over 2,000 years old in length. Each one of the constellations is 2,000 years in length in the astrological scheme of things. And so the constellation of Pisces began about 2,000 years ago with the rule of Rome. And Rome is said to have ruled under the age of Pisces, the two fishes. And that's why That's where we get the idea that the God's Son fed people with the two fishes.
And of course, in context, when we speak of Rome, we're talking about after the decline of Egypt, and the Rome is coming into power.
That's right. So they take, it's just like everybody else. Everybody borrows from everybody else. And we think we don't, but we do. I mean, we make movies. One guy has a great smashing movie, and 4 other people come out with a movie just like it. So everybody borrows from everybody else, and that's true of religion. The only problem is that who had the thing to start with is the problem. And all of this began in Egypt. And Egypt, we're talking about Africa, and Africa, we're talking about black. So let's go on. Now, if each one of those ages was about 2,000, a little over 2,000 years long, each one of the astrological constellational ages, and if the God's Son, the light of the world, comes into the age of Pisces with the coming of the rule of Rome, that's why, of course, the Pope has the fish's hat, the fish's mitre. The hat of the Pope is actually the fish of Dagon, or the fish god of the two fishes. And, of course, now we've been in that astrological period of time under which God's Son has ruled the world in the age of Pisces for 1992 years, give or take. And since an age, eon in the Bible, eon or aeon, is about 2,000, a little over 2,000 years in length, that means we're 1992 years into the age of Pisces. And the next age to come, of course, is the age of Aquarius, if you look at any astrological chart. Therefore, if we're 1992 years into the age of Pisces, and we're looking real close at coming into the age of Aquarius, then we are living, what the Christians say, in the last days. That's right, we're living in the last days of the age of Pisces. Not the last days, the end of the world, the boogeyman's going to get you, and the whole world is going to burn up a fire, and all that stuff. It is the last days of Pisces, and therefore the coming Messiah, or when he comes again, will come, he says in the book of Luke 22:10, when he's asked what you're going to come back as in the last Passover, and he says, go into the town and go into the house with the man with the water pitcher. So here is the sun symbolized in Pisces, and the rest of the astrological signs of the 12 apostles are asking him, now what are you going to do next? Well, now that you've been the fisherman, now what's going to be next for us? When you get to the last Passover in the age of Pisces, now what you're going to do coming up? And he said, well, now we're going to go into the age of the man with the water pitcher, and that's Luke 22:10. He says, go into the town, you'll see a man with the water pitcher, and go into that house. So we're talking about Aquarius now. Again, I have to say that the Bible is nothing more than astrology. It has always been astrology. It's just not known for astrology, and that's what we have to clarify.
And, of course, ministers on Sunday never point this out. As a matter of fact, in Christianity, they denounce astrology as being evil.
Yes, let me explain that to you. I'm glad you brought that up. The reason why today Christians say that astrology is evil and bad and of the devil, and of course, devil is nothing more than adding a D to the word evil. You add evil and put a D in it, and there's you got the devil. And of course, God is nothing more than adding an O. You add an O to God. I mean, you take an O out of good, and you got God. So God is good, and the devil's evil. Of course, you add a D to evil, and it becomes evil. But the reason why, and I hate to bring this up again, but I just forgot the question, because what was the point you just made about?
About the evilness of astrology.
Oh, yeah, okay. Now, the reason why Christianity sees that astrology is evil is very simple. In the Old Testament, Moses says to God's people to have nothing to do with the astrologers, nothing to do with those who can foretell the future by the stars and all of that. That's all evil, bad stuff. Has nothing to do with it. And so, therefore, we would be footstep followers of the Messiah and coming down through that line, so we wouldn't want to have nothing to do with it either if Moses didn't. And Moses said, don't have anything to do with them people, read them stars, okay? Now, the understanding of that is this, and listen closely, because it's so simple. In the Old Testament, there are 4 separate and distinct gods.